It was sometimes said that the gray and black mountain range, which ran like a spine north to south down the part of a ferry, had once been a giant who grew so huge and so heavy that one day, worn out from the sheer effort of moving the living, he had stretched out of the plain and had fallen into the sleep of profound that centuries passed between heartbeats. This would have been a long time ago if it ever happened in the first age of the world, when all was stone and fire, water and wind. There were few left alive to put the lie to it if it was not true. Still, true or not, they called the four great mountains of range Mount Head, Mount Shoulder, Mount Belly, and Mount Knees, and the foothills to the south were known as the Feet. There were passes through the mountains, one between the head and the shoulders, where the neck would have been, one immediately to the south of Mount Belly. They were wild mountains inhabited by wild creatures, slate-colored trolls, hairy wild men, straight wood-wolves, mountain goats, and mining gnomes, hermits and exiles, and the occasional pig witch. This was not one of the really high mountain ranges of fairy, such as Mount Huon, on the top of which is Stormhold, but it was hard range for lone travelers to cross nonetheless. The Witch Queen had crossed the path south of Mount Belly in a couple of days, and now waited at the opening of the pass. Her goats were tethered to Thornbush, which they chewed without enthusiasm. She sat on the side of the unhitched chariot, and she sharpened her teeth with a whetstone. The knives were old things. The hilts were made of bone, while the blades were chipped volcanic glass, black as jet with white snowflake shapes frozen forever into the obsidian. There were two knives, the smaller hatch-bladed cleaver, heavy and hard for cutting through the rib cage, for jointing and segmenting, to the other a long dagger-like blade for cutting out the heart. When the knives were so sharp that she could have drawn either blade across the throat, and you would never have felt more than the touch of the lightest hair, and then a spreading warmth of your life blood made it quite escape. The Witch Queen put them away and commenced her preparation. She walked over to the goats and whispered a word of power to each of them. Where the goats had been stood a man with white chin beard and a boyish, dull-eyed young woman. They said nothing. She crouched beside her chariot and whispered several words to it. The chariot did nothing, and the witch woman stamped her foot on the rock. "I'm getting old," she said to her two servants. They said nothing in reply, have no indication that they even understood her. Things inanimated have always been more difficult to change than things animate. Their souls are older and stupider and harder to persuade. If I but had my true youth again, why, in the dawn of the world, I could transform mountains into seas and clouds into palaces. I could populate cities with a pebble on the shingle. If I were young again. She sighed, and she raised a hand. A blue flame flickered about her fingers for a moment, and then, as she lowered her hand and bent down to touch her chariot, the fire vanished. She stood upright. There were streaks of gray now in her raven black hair, and dark pouches beneath her eyes. But the chariot was gone, and she stood in front of a small inn at the edge of the mountain pass, far Far away, the thunder rumbled quietly in the distance. The inn swung, and creaked in the wind. There was a picture of a chariot painted upon it. "You too," said the witch woman inside. "She is riding this way, and she will have to come through this pass. Now I simply have to ensure that she will come inside. You," she said to the man with the white chin beard, "are Billy, the owner of this tavern. I shall be your wife," and this pointed to the dull-eyed girl who had once been Brevis, "is our daughter, the pot maid." Another crash and thunder echoed down from the mountain peaks louder than before. "It will rain soon," said the witch woman. "Let us prepare a fire." Tristan could feel the star ahead of them, moving steadily onward. He felt as if he were gaining ground upon her, and to his relief, the black carriage continued to follow the star's path. Once, when the road diverged, Tristan was concerned that they might take the wrong fork. He was ready to leave the coach and travel all on alone if that would happen. His companion reined in the horses, clambered down from the driver's seat, and took out his roans. Then, his consultation complete, he climbed back up and took the carriage down the left-hand fork. "It is not too forward of me to inquire," said Tristan. "Might I ask what is that you are in search of?" "My destiny," said the man, after a short pause. "My right to rule in you. There's a young lady that I have offended by my behavior," said Tristan. "I wish to make amends." As he said it, he knew it to be true. The driver grunted. The forest canopy was thinning rapidly. Trees became sparser, and Tristan stared up at the mountain in front of them, and he gasped. "Such mountains," he said. "When you are older," said his companion, "you might visit my citadel high on the crags of Mount Huon. Now that is the mountain, and from there we can look down upon the mountains next to which these," and he gestured toward the heights of the Mount Belly ahead of them, "and are the merest foothills. Truth to tell," said Tristan, "I hope to spend the rest of my life as a sheep farmer in the village of Wall, for I have now had much excitement as any man could rightly need. What with candles and trees and the young lady and the unicorn, but I take the invitation in the spirit in which it was given, and thank you for it. If ever you visit Wall, then you must come to my house, and I shall give you woolen clothes and sheep cheese, and all the mutton stew you can eat." "You are far too kind," said the driver. The path was easier now, made crushed gravel and grated rocks. He cracked his whip to urge the 4 black stallions on faster. "You saw a unicorn," he said. Tristan was about to tell the companion all about an encounter with a unicorn, but he thought better of it and simply said he was most noble beast. "The unicorns are the moon's creatures," said the driver. "I have never seen one, but it is said that they serve the moon and do her bidding. He shall reach the mountains by tomorrow evening. I shall call a halt at the sunset tonight. If you wish, you may sleep inside the coach. I myself shall sleep beside the fire." There was no change in his tone of voice, but Tristan knew with a certainty that was both sudden and shocking in its intensity that a man was scared of something, frightened in the depth of his soul. Lightning flickered on the mountain tops that night. Tristan slept on the leather seat of the coach, his head on a sack of oats. He dreamed of ghosts and of the moon and and stars. The rain began at dawn, abruptly as the sky had turned to water. Low gray clouds hid the mountains from sight. In the driving rain, Tristan and the coachman driver hitched the horses to the carriage and set off. It was all uphill now, and the horses went no faster than a walk. "You could go inside," said the driver. "No point in us both getting wet." They had put on a one-piece oilskin they had found beneath the driver's seat. "It would be hard for me to be wetter," said Tristan, "without my first leaping into a river. I shall stay here. 2 pair of eyes and 2 pair of hands may well be the saving of us." His companion grunted and wiped the rain from his eyes and mouth with a cold, wet hand, and then he said, "You're a fool, boy, but I appreciate it." He transferred the reins to his left hand and extended his right hand. "I am known as Primus, the Lord Primus." Tristan Thorn," he said, feeling that the man had somehow earned the right to know his name. They shook hands. The rain fell harder. The horses slowed to the slowest walk as the path became a stream, and the heavy rain cut off the vision effectively as thick as fog. "There is a man," said the Lord Primus, shouting to the herd, now over the rain and wind, wiping the words from his lips. He is tall, looks a little like me, but thinner, more crow-like. His eyes seem innocent and dull, but there is death in them. He is called Septimus, for he is the 7th boy child our father spawned. If ever you see him, run and hide. His business is with me, but he will not hesitate to kill you if you stand in his way, or perhaps to make you his instrument with which to kill me." A wild gust of wind drove the tankerful of rain water down Tristan's neck. "He sounds a most dangerous man," said Tristan. "He is the most dangerous man you will ever meet." It was becoming harder to see the road. "If you ask me, there is something unnatural about this storm. Unnatural, or more than natural, supernatural, if you will. I hope there is an inn along the way. The horses need rest, and I could do with a dry bed and a warm fire and a good meal." Tristan shouted his agreement. He tried to find an inn in his mind and failed. They sat together, getting wetter. Tristan thought about the star and the unicorn. She would be cold by now and wet. He worried about her broken leg and thought about how settled sore she must be. It was all his fault. She felt wretched. "I am the most miserable person who ever lived," he said to the Lord Primus. When they stopped to feed the horses the feed bags as damp oats. "You are young and in love," said Primus. "Every young man in your position is the most miserable young man who ever lived." Tristan wondered how Lord Primus could have divined the existence of Victoria Forrester. He imagined himself recounting his adventures to her in front of the blazing parlor fire back at wall, but somehow all his tales seemed a little flat. Dusk seemed to have started at dawn that day, and now the sky was getting dark once more. Their path continued to climb. The rain would let up for moments and then redouble, falling harder than ever. Is that a light over there?" asked Tristan. "I cannot see anything. Maybe it was a fool's fire or lightning," said Primus. And then they gained and bent in the road, and he said, "I was wrong. That is a light, well-spotted young on, but there's are bad things in these mountains. We must only hope that they are friendly." The horse put on a fresh burst burst of speed now that their destination was in sight. A flash of lightning revealed the mountains rising steeply up the other side of them. "We're in luck," said Primus, his bass voice booming like thunder. "It is an inn." And that is the end of chapter 6. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys are enjoying Stardust like I am. You should tell me if you guys have seen the actual movie Stardust with Robert De Niro and Michelle Pfeiffer. This movie, like I said, it's one of my favorite movies, and it's funny and it's good, and I'm biased because I love Michelle Pfeiffer. So, but anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Please do not forget to subscribe, give me a thumbs up, share, comment, hit the bell for notification, follow me on Instagram, and I will talk to you in Stardust.